I sat in the main seat on the terrace of the private riverside club, my fingertips gently stroking the priceless cold jade wine glass. The evening breeze carried the dampness of the river, yet it couldn't disperse the intense, bitter perfume scent lingering around that was my mother-in-law, Ju, who had deliberately sprayed a limited edition fragrance for tonight's third wedding anniversary dinner. Ruojian, I'm not trying to lecture you, but although the Liu family's financial statements look impressive, Jinyang is, after all, a man. How can he not have some decent accessories? Ju elegantly cut into her Kobe beef while glancing at me from the corner of her eye, her tone full of elder admonishment. Look at his watch, it's still the one you gave him last year. This year, Jinyang has his eye on a limited edition Vatran Constantine, just a few million. As his wife, you should be more considerate. I lowered my eyes, concealing the faint sneer in their depths. Lu Jinyang, my husband in name, sat across from me. His face was indeed exceptionally handsome, cold and aloof, like the perennial snow on a mountain peak. He was looking down at his phone, his slender fingers dancing quickly across the screen, completely ignoring his mother's near-extortionate behavior, as if he were merely an indifferent bystander. Mom, if Jinyang wants something, he'll tell me himself. My voice was flat, betraying no emotion. You know his personality, he's too proud to ask his wife for anything. Ju snorted lightly, then turned to Lu Jinyang and said, Son, isn't that right? Lu Jinyang finally looked up slowly, his deep eyes devoid of any affection, only a cold sense of entitlement. Ruojian, Mom is just thinking about the Liu family's dignity. I smiled, but the smile didn't reach my eyes. Dignity? What part of the Liu family's current dignity isn't being propped up by the Shun family's investments at that moment? My phone, which was resting on the dining table, vibrated. Softly, it was a real-time monitoring report sent by my personal financial manager. I didn't open it immediately. Instead, I picked up my wine glass and took a small sip of red wine. Jinyang, today is our wedding anniversary, I said, setting down the glass and fixing him with a sharp gaze. I've prepared a big gift for you. I wonder if you'll like it. Lu Jinyang's expression finally showed a slight flicker of emotion. He furrowed his brows slightly, as if trying to decipher the deeper meaning behind my words. You've always been thoughtful, of course, considerate. I curled the corner of my lips and swiped open my phone screen. It wasn't some surprise video, but a clear screenshot of a bank transfer. Your account successfully transferred to account holder Lin Jiao at 1945, amount, yuan 500,000,000. Remarks, happy birthday, 5 minutes ago, just as he sat in front of me, listening to his mother ask me for a luxury watch worth millions, he transferred 500,000 to his white moonlight without batting an eye. I gently pushed my phone, sliding it to the center of the dining table. The light from the screen reflected on the faces of Ju and Lu Jinyang, making their usually arrogant expressions look somewhat comical. Ju's face instantly turned pale. She stiffly looked at Lu Jinyang, then at me, stammering, This might be a business exchange. That child Lin Jiao is interning at your company, isn't she? Does a business exchange require a note saying, Happy birthday? I propped my chin on my hand, watching Lu Jinyang with leisurely composure. Lu Jinyang's aloof mask finally cracked a seam. He wasn't flustered. Instead, he was filled with the anger of being offended. He looked at me coldly. Shun Ruojian, have you been monitoring my account? No, Lu Jinyang. You've misunderstood one thing. I stood up, looking down at him from above. That's not your account. It's a subsidiary consumption card funded solely by my Shun family under the joint property agreement you signed when we married into the Liu group. In other words, every cent you're transferring to Lin Jiao right now is mine. Lu Jinyang abruptly stood up, his voice icy. Shun Ruojian, must you make such an ugly scene on our anniversary? Lin Jiao is in a difficult situation right now. Her father is in the hospital, and this money is for saving lives. Money to save lives. I sneered and directly pulled up another screen. It was a post Lin Jiao had just shared 5 minutes ago. The setting is at the city's most exclusive luxury boutique, where she is holding a Hermes crocodile skin bag with the tag still attached. The caption reads, Though thin clouds may veil the moon, there is always someone to keep me safe. The best birthday gift is peace of mind. Lu Jinyang. It seems the life-saving remedy in your mind is Hermes. I said calmly, pulling a stack of documents from my bag and tossing them directly onto the steak plate in front of him, the grease instantly stained. The agreements, since you're so fond of helping the needy, I'll grant your wish. I picked up the phone and, right in front of them, dialed the bank's senior VIP customer service line. Hello, I'm Shinruojian. Please immediately cancel the 3 supplementary cards under my name ending in 8888, 9999, and 6666. At the same time, halt all non-essential fund transfers to the Lu Group for this quarter, and put all pending projects into the financial review process. Shinruojian, have you lost your mind? Juayu screamed, jumping to her feet. Do you have any idea what will happen to my charity ball tomorrow if you cancel these cards? Where will I put my face? Mom, dignity is earned by oneself, not by swiping your daughter-in-law's cards, I said coldly, giving her a sharp glance. Lu Jinyang stared at me intently, his hands clenched into fists, veins bulging at his temples. Shinruojian, are you using this method to force me to back down? Do you think cutting off my money will make me love you as you wish? This kind of controlling behavior only disgusts me. Love, I burst out laughing as if I had heard the biggest joke in the world, tears welling up in the corners of my eyes. Lu Jinyang, have you misunderstood something? The money I, Shinruojian, have invested in you over the years is enough to buy 10 men as handsome as you. I used to see it as an investment, thinking the Lu family still had a chance, but now I realize that not only is this investment failing to yield returns, it's also generating endless liabilities. In that case, cutting losses is a businessman's instinct. I walked gracefully over to Lu Jinyang in my high heels and straightened the tie on his chest. Mr. Lu, from this moment on, you can continue to maintain your cold and aloof persona. But remember, without my money, you can't even afford to pay for this meal. I glanced at the trembling waiter and smiled faintly. Since this meal is the dignity Mr. Lu wanted to give me, let him pay for it himself. Oh, and by the way, the bottle of 1982 Lafitte that Mrs. Lu just ordered isn't cheap either. Shinruojian, you stop right there. Juayu tried to rush forward to grab my arm. I dodged to the side, my gaze sharp as a blade as I glared at her. Ju, don't touch this gown of mine. You can't afford to pay for it now. I picked up my bag and, under the stunned, humiliated, and bewildered gazes of everyone, strode confidently out of the terrace. Behind me came Lu Jinyang's suppressed roar and Juayu's heart-wrenching cries. Sir, I'm sorry, but your card shows insufficient balance. Try this one. This one will definitely work. I'm sorry. This one has also been frozen. I walked to the elevator entrance, listening to those shattered voices, feeling an unprecedented sense of relief in my heart. But this is just the beginning. What I want is not just to cut off their resources. I want to see how that delicate white moonlight withers quickly in soil without the nourishment of money. I want to see if that self-proclaimed noble Lu Jinyang can still maintain his proud indifference when he has to bend for a mere 3 pecks of rice. As the elevator doors closed, I took out my phone and sent one final instruction to the financial director. Old Chen, tomorrow at 9 in the morning, bring the entire audit team and come with me to the Lu Group. I want to check the accounts, especially the department where Lin Jiao works. Ding, the elevator descended to the ground floor, and I stepped into the night, a brand new battlefield that belonged to me. The morning sun at 9 o'clock pierced through the fully prepared glass curtain wall of the Lu Group, casting a cold and sharp light. I walked in my custom-made red-soled high heels, each step feeling as though it were treading on the Lu family's already shaky nerves. Behind me stood an audit team dressed uniformly in black suits, each carrying a professional laptop bag. Leading them was the finance director, Old Chen, once my father's most trusted iron abacus, President Shen. President Lu is already waiting for you in the conference room. His expression doesn't look good, whispered Secretary Xiao Wang, her head lowered and her voice trembling. That's exactly how it should be, I replied, pushing open the heavy mahogany door of the conference room. A wave of intense, oppressive tension hit me the moment I stepped inside. Lu Jinyang had changed into a dark grey suit, though he still appeared cold and upright. The dark circles under his eyes and his slightly disheveled hair betrayed the disarray of the previous night. Beside him, a woman in a white lace dress, her eyes red and swollen, was clutching the hem of her clothes tightly. Lin Jiao, sure enough, even at a time like this, he still doesn't forget to shield his true love under his wing. Shen Ruozhen, what exactly are you trying to do by barging into the company with so many people? Lu Jinyang suddenly stood up, his voice hoarse, carrying the suppressed anger from the entire night. I calmly pulled out the main seat and sat down, while old Chen, with perfect understanding, slapped a stack of audit authorization documents onto the table. Mr. Lu, as the representative of the controlling shareholder holding 51% of Lu Group's shares, I am here today to exercise my supervisory rights. Additionally, I turned my head, my gaze sharp as it shot toward Lin Jiao, who was shrinking in the corner. I also want to see how an intern could possibly use the company's public account to reimburse her personal Hermes purchases. Lin Jiao's face instantly drained of color. She leaned weakly against Lu Jinyang, her voice as faint as a mosquito's hum. Jinyang, I didn't. Those were all just normal business entertainment. Business entertainment, I sneered, signaling old Chen to turn on the projector. Several invoices and receipts clearly popped up on the large screen, with the time, location, and item names plainly stating high-end leather care and limited edition silk scarves. Miss Lin, when did the Lu Group switch to the leather goods wholesale business? Or are you telling me you entertained clients all the way into the fitting rooms of Balenciaga? Shen Ruozhen, that's enough. Lu Jinyang slammed his fist heavily on the table, causing the coffee cup to rattle. That amount of money means nothing to me. Why did you have to humiliate her in front of everyone? She's just a newcomer who doesn't understand workplace rules. Means nothing. I raised an eyebrow and looked at him, my eyes filled with mockery. Lu Jinyang, that was true for the old you. But the current you, didn't you have to pool money from your so-called friends just to cover last night's 300,000 yuan dinner? Where do you get the confidence to say that a few 100,000 means nothing? As soon as these words were spoken, the air in the conference room instantly froze. Several executives exchanged glances, while Lu Jinyang's face turned from pale to ashen, then from ashen to purple. For someone like him, a golden boy accustomed to privilege, having his dignity stripped away in public was more unbearable than death. You actually investigated me, he said through gritted teeth. I have no interest in your private life, but I have the right to pursue the company's lost assets. I stood up and walked directly in front of Lin Jiao. She instinctively backed away, but I grabbed her wrist with a surprisingly strong grip. Lin Jiao, according to the employment contract and financial regulations, you are suspected of embezzlement. Will you return the money yourself, or shall I call the police? Jinyang, save me. Lin Jiao was so frightened that tears instantly welled up in her eyes, her delicate, tear-streaked appearance truly evoking pity. Lu Jinyang stepped forward, wanting to pull me away, but was blocked by two security guards brought by old Chen. Shen Ruozhen, do you have to be so ruthless? Her father is still in the intensive care unit. Are you trying to drive her to her death? Lu Jinyang's eyes were bloodshot, like a trapped beast. It's not me who's driving her to her death, it's her insatiable vanity. And you, Lu Jinyang, are the one who handed her the knife to harm herself. I let go, and Lin Jiao collapsed to the ground. Old Chen, announce the personnel decision. Old Chen adjusted his glasses and read out in an official tone. In turn, Lin Jiao, due to serious violations of financial discipline, is hereby dismissed with immediate effect, and her misconduct will be reported across the entire industry. Additionally, the company reserves the right to pursue legal action against her for the illegal possession of company property. No, please don't. Lin Jiao was completely panicked. Being reported across the entire industry meant her career in the financial sector was over for good. Shen Ruozhen, you can't do this. I'm the CEO, and I don't agree. Lu Jinyang roared. I'm sorry, Mr. Lu. I turned around gracefully, taking another document from my bag. Based on your long-term abuse of power to benefit relatives and specific individuals, the board has passed a resolution to temporarily freeze your CEO approval authority. For the next month, all major expenditures at Lu Corporation must bear my personal signature. Lu Jinyang froze, staring at me as if he didn't recognize me. Shen Ruozhen, you've been planning this for so long just to get back at me. Get back at you? No, this is called cleaning house. I walked up to him, lowered my voice, and whispered in his ear, my breath as gentle as an orchid but my words as cold as ice. From today onward, every minute you spend in this office will be under my watchful eye. The dignity you wanted to give her, I won't leave a single shred of it for you. Get out. I looked at Lin Jiao on the floor, my voice not loud, but carrying an undeniable authority. 2 security guards stepped forward, lifting the sobbing, disheveled Lin Jiao as if she were a chick, and escorted her out. Lu Jinyang watched the direction in which Lin Jiao was dragged away, then turned to look at me. The coldness in his eyes had shattered into pieces, replaced by a deep, helpless hatred. Shen Ruozhen, you will regret this. The one who will regret will never be me. I sat back down in the chair of the CEO's office, opened the first financial report awaiting approval, and without looking up, tossed out a sentence. Mr. Lu, if there's nothing else, please leave. This is now an audit site, and unauthorized personnel are not allowed inside. Lu Jinyang trembled as he pointed at me, then finally slammed the door shut and stormed away. The meeting room returned to a dead silence. I looked at the tissue Lin Jiao had used on the table, disgusted, and threw it into the wastebasket. This is just the beginning. I want them to know that when the illusory cloak woven by money is stripped away, their so-called pure love is worth less than a scrap of paper in the face of harsh reality. Old Chen, keep digging. Track down every single expense Lu Jinyang spent on taking her out on trips under the guise of business trips over the years. One by one, I gazed out the window at the bustling city, a cruel smile curling at the corner of my mouth. Since we're going to be drinking the northwest wind, we might as well drink it to the fullest. The sky was gloomy, with fine raindrops like countless steel needles slanting down into this old district, forgotten by the city's prosperity. I pushed open the door of the Maybach, my black high heels precisely avoiding a puddle of oily water on the ground, but unable to escape the foul stench in the air, a mix of mildew, cheap cooking fumes, and the rot of the sores. President Shen, this is the place. The real estate agent, Xiao Zhong, hunched his shoulders, pointing with a mix of flattery and disdain at the old apartment building in front of us, its exterior peeling and wires tangled like a mess. This area is about to be demolished, and it's mostly occupied by migrant workers. Mr. Lu Jinyang, moved in with that young lady. Yesterday afternoon, I adjusted the Hermes cashmere shawl on my shoulders and responded calmly, lead the way. The hallway was pitch black, the motion sensor light long broken, leaving only the sounds of chopping from an unknown apartment and a child's crying echoing in the cramped space. With every step I took, the sound of my heels striking the cement floor seemed particularly jarring, as if a grand solo had been forcibly inserted into this dilapidated symphony. On the 3rd floor, the peeling security door at the end of the corridor was slightly ajar. I signaled for the agent to stay outside and reached out to push the door open myself. Inside, Lu Jinyang was hunched over, struggling to drag a huge suitcase. His once immaculate white shirt was soaked with sweat, clinging to his back, making his once upright frame appear disheveled and almost laughable. Meanwhile, Lin Jiao, wearing an out-of-season silk nightgown, sat on an old, greasy sofa cushion, staring blankly at a basin of cold water and a pile of expensive silk garments. Jinyang, this water is too cold. My hands are about to crack from the cold. Lin Jiao pouted with grievance, her eyes red like a rabbit's, and the washing machine here is broken. I really don't dare use that public laundry room, it's full of bacteria. Lu Jinyang paused what he was doing, wiped the sweat from his forehead, his cool voice tinged with a barely concealed weariness. Jiao, just make do for now. Once I sort out the company's accounts and repay that money to Shen Ruozhen, we'll have the means to move out. Sort out. Lu Jinyang, do you have some misunderstanding about the word sort out? I walked into the room unhurriedly, glancing around at this so-called love nest of less than 30 square meters. The walls were yellowed, and there was a large patch of mold on the ceiling. The simple single bed was covered with the silk bedding they had brought from their mansion, looking both absurd and ironic in such surroundings. Shen Ruozhen, what are you doing here? Lu Jinyang abruptly straightened up, a flicker of intense shame flashing in his eyes. He instinctively wanted to straighten his clothes, only to realize he didn't even have a decent jacket because yesterday afternoon, I personally oversaw the property management as they reclaimed all the custom-tailored suits belonging to the Shen family. I came to check on my tenant, I said, pulling a stack of property deeds from my bag and fanning them lightly between my fingers. I forgot to mention, this entire building, including the moldy floor tile you're standing on, was just acquired last week by the Urban Renewal Fund under the Shun Group. In other words, I'm not only your creditor now but also your landlord, you. Lu Jinyan's face turned livid with anger, his body trembling slightly. Shinruorzhan, do you have to go this far, even buying a slum like this just to humiliate us? Humiliation. I walked up to Lin Jiao, looking at her well-maintained hands, now unnaturally pale from soaking in cold water. Lu Jinyang, you keep saying you love her, yet you can't even afford to let her take a hot shower. Is your so-called deep affection just making her play this tragic drama with you in a musty room? Lin Jiao shrank back, trying to hide behind Lu Jinyang, but I blocked her path. Miss Lin, I heard your father's medical expenses still haven't been settled. The special care ward in a private hospital costs 18,000 a day. Guess how many more days he can stay there without the public funds Lu Jinyang secretly transferred to you? Sister Shen, please. Lin Jiao finally broke down, suddenly kneeling on the ground and reaching for the hem of my skirt. I took a light step back, my gaze as cold as ice. Don't dirty my clothes, you can't afford to pay for them. Instead of begging for mercy, you'd better think about how to repay those 5 million, otherwise, a lawyer's letter will be delivered here tomorrow. Just then, a series of rough knocks came from outside the door. Open up, time to pay the rent, and the utilities. You've gone over the limit this month. A landlady with a cigarette dangling from her mouth and a face full of rough features walked in, glancing sideways at Lu Jinyang. Well, aren't you dressed nicely? What, can't even come up with 2,000 for rent? If you don't have the money, get out. There are plenty of people waiting in line to live here. Lu Jinyan's face flushed a deep, purplish red. He reached into his pocket, only to pull out a black card that had already been frozen. The once dignified air of someone who had controlled billions in market value was completely shattered in that moment. He had to lower his head and plead with the landlord. Could you give me 2 more days? Give you more time? Do you think I'm running a charity? The old landlady spat on the ground. No money. If you don't have money, then hand over these worthless rags as payment. With that, she reached for the pile of expensive silk shirts. Stop, Lu Jinyang shouted angrily, but the old landlady pushed him away with a shove. What are you yelling for? You're just a penniless loser. I stood to the side, watching the scene unfold with calm composure. Lu Jinyang, that once aloof and elegant young master who had charmed the business world with his wit, was now being scolded and pointed at by a vulgar old woman over a mere 2,000 yuan. Want money? I pulled a stack of cash from my bag and casually tossed it onto the greasy table. Landlady, I'll pay his rent for him. The old landlady's eyes lit up as she snatched the money and eagerly started counting it. Lu Jinyang stared fixedly at the money, his eyes filled with humiliation. Shinruorzhan, you're slapping me in the face. No, Lu Jinyang. I walked to the door, glanced back at him, and smiled with the confidence of a victor. I'm teaching you that in this world, without money, you can't even afford so-called pride. Oh, and by the way, I'll send someone to collect the Aston Martin parked downstairs at 8 tomorrow morning. It's Shun Group's asset. If you need to go out, I suggest you get a bus card, or, I pointed to the pitch-black street outside the window. Shared bikes really suit your current vibe. I turned and walked away, hearing Lin Jiao's piercing cries and the muffled sound of Lu Jinyang smashing a cup behind me. Stepping out of the apartment building, breathing in the cold yet liberating air outside, I dialed Old Chen's number. Old Chen, arrange for a few people to keep an eye on Lu Jinyan's movements. Also, leak the news that my mother-in-law, Zhu Yu, has accidentally racked up massive gambling debts to those debt collection agencies. It's time for her to experience what human suffering feels like too. The black Maybach cut through the rain. Leaving that crumbling slum behind, I sat in the VIP lounge of a private beauty salon, where the air was lightly scented with cedarwood. A technician was kneeling on the floor, giving me a foot massage with essential oils. Outside the floor-to-ceiling window was the bustling CBD skyline of the city, and in the reflection of the glass, a furtive, gaunt figure was visible. Ms. Shin, Mrs. Lu has been making a scene outside for half an hour, insisting on seeing you. the manager said as she entered. Looking somewhat troubled, she said if you don't come out, she'll crash into the door of our shop and die. Crash to death. I turned a page of the financial magazine in my hands. Without even lifting my eyes, her skin and flesh are far too delicate for that. She'd never dare let her in, so she doesn't dirty the floor tiles outside. A moment later, the door was pushed open, and Ju Yu stumbled in just a few short days. This wealthy socialite, who in the past would only wear haute couture and mingle with celebrities, now looked so haggard that she was almost unrecognizable. Her meticulously styled curls were a mess, and the Chanel jacket she wore was as wrinkled as dried vegetable leaves. Even more jarring was the cheap plastic bag she held in her right hand, containing a few pieces of out-of-season, discounted old clothes. Shunruorzhen, you poisonous woman, how far do you plan to push us? As soon as Ju Yu spoke, her voice was hoarse and strained. Carrying a tone of desperate madness, I waved my hand to signal the technician to leave, slowly sat up, and leisurely adjusted the collar of my silk robe. Mother-in-law, what do you mean by that? Cutting off your supplementary cards was to teach you independence, reclaiming the property was to help you practice frugality. I'm just helping the Liu family establish the right values. Stop pretending to be righteous here. Ju Yu lunged toward the table, her hands trembling as she pulled a few red debt collection notices from her pocket. Those debt collectors are blocking the entrance to my parents' home. 20 million. I just played a few afternoon games of mahjong with them. How could I possibly owe 20 million? You must be behind this. Mother-in-law, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't just say whatever you want. I stood up and walked over to her, looking down at the red veins in her eyes. It's your own vanity that's to blame. Without my supplementary card to back you up, you still wanted to maintain that hollow, pretentious image in your circle of wealthy ladies. Those creditors weren't brought by me, it was your so-called good sisters who sold you out to the loan sharks to save themselves. Without the title of the Shun family's daughter-in-law, you're nothing but a fattened lamb ready for slaughter in their eyes. Ju Yu collapsed on the floor, wailing loudly. Ruorzhen, I was wrong. Mom begs you, for Jinyang's sake, please help me pay off this debt. As long as you're willing to pay, I'll go back and make Jinyang break things off with that vixen. I'll slap her myself and bring you back home. Bring me back. I let out a sharp laugh, the sound echoing coldly in the empty room. Back where? Back to that leaky slum apartment, or back to that destitute Liu family, where even buying a bottle of soy sauce requires half a day of calculation. I bent down, picked up a pilled wool sweater from the plastic bag on the floor, and tossed it back in disgust. I won't pay a single cent of the debt you owe now. However, I can point you to a clear path. Ju Yu seemed to have grasped her last straw, looking up with hopeful eyes. What path? As long as I don't have to go to prison, I'll do anything. Isn't Lin Jiao living in that old apartment? She's unemployed now, and Lu Jinyang is running into walls everywhere outside and can't come home. There's no one at home to do the laundry or cook. You go over there, take care of her daily needs, and serve her bedridden father. Ju Yu's face instantly twisted. You want me to serve that vixen? I'm the lady of the Liu family. What does she even amount to? She's the apple of your son's eye, I remarked casually, admiring the polish on my nails. Aren't you the one who dotes on him the most? Now he can barely afford a decent meal. As his mother, shouldn't you step up and make yourself useful? If you stay there and serve for a full month, I might consider covering the interest on that debt. Otherwise, by tomorrow morning, the debt collector's legal notice could turn into a warning for unlawful confinement. Ju Yu's face shifted between pale and ashen, her body trembling like a sieve. Just then, my phone rang. It was a screenshot from the surveillance feed sent by old Chen. In the frame, inside a cramped, cheap apartment, Lin Jiao had just flipped over the takeout box that Lu Jinyang had painstakingly bought, complaining it was too greasy. Lu Jinyang was crouched on the floor, picking up pieces of braised pork covered in dust. One by one, I handed the phone to Ju Yu. Look, the son you've been longing for is slaving away for that woman. If you go, you can join them and see just how cheap the bloodline your Liu family is so proud of becomes in the face of poverty. Shunruorzhen, you're not human, you're a devil. Ju Yu pointed at me, her finger trembling violently. I'm just a businessman who sees the truth. I took back my phone, my voice turning cold. Someone, escort Mrs. Lu to where she belongs. I've already sent the address to the driver. Take her directly to the urban village, no need to thank me. Two tall bodyguards walked in, each taking one of Ju Ayu's arms and lifting her up. Let go of me, I won't go. Shun Ruorzhan, you'll pay for this. Ju Ayu's screams gradually faded into the distance, finally disappearing at the end of the corridor. I sat back down on the sofa and dialed a number. Hello, is this Mrs. Zhong? Yes, it's Ruorzhan. I heard you have a charity banquet tomorrow night. Please reserve an invitation for me. Also, help me spread the word that Lu Jinyan's current financial situation is quite precarious and he urgently needs the care of influential figures from all walks of life. After hanging up the phone, I looked at myself in the mirror, cold-eyed, with a faint smile at the corner of my lips. Ju Ayu, this kind of parasite, fears nothing more than losing her host, and when two parasites, her and Lin Jiao, are crammed into the same narrow petri dish, the spectacle of their tearing at each other will surely be 100 times more thrilling than any TV drama. Lu Jinyang, aren't you the one who craves pure, untainted affection? Well, now your shattered family and the mess of trivialities scattered all over the floor are waiting for you to go back and slowly wear yourself down. The red carpet outside the Municipal Grand Theatre stretched like a winding crimson dragon, glaringly vivid under the relentless barrage of camera flashes. I sat in the back seat of the Rolls-Royce, dressed in a high couture gown of shimmering black, the emerald necklace around my neck glowing faintly in the dim interior of the car. President Shun, Lu Jinyang, and Lin Jiao have already arrived. Old Chen reported softly from the passenger seat. Turning his head, Lin Jiao somehow got her hands on a knockoff of last year's high couture design, and Lu Jinyang had to pawn his last privately kept luxury watch just to afford 2 tickets at the very edge of the venue. Imitation, I sneered, pushing the car door open. Then let her see just how inferior she is under the true light. I stepped onto the red carpet and ascended the stairs, instantly plunging the surrounding media into a frenzy. The flashlights were so intense they were dizzying, but I was long accustomed to this rhythm of being the center of attention. The moment I stepped through the main entrance of the banquet hall, I saw them. Lu Jinyang stood in a corner of the buffet area, though he tried his best to maintain that aloof and proud demeanor. His slightly tight and rough-textured suit betrayed his embarrassment. Beside him, Lin Jiao wore a pink lace gown with heavy makeup, straining to straighten her back as she attempted to strike up conversations with the wealthy ladies around her, only to be met with disdainful glances. Well, if it isn't President Lu. I held a champagne glass and walked over gracefully, surrounded by a crowd. My voice wasn't loud, but it was just enough for everyone nearby to hear clearly. Lu Jinyan's body stiffened. When he turned his head, the shattered self-respect in his eyes turned into anger at the sight of me. Shun Ruorzhan, do you have to humiliate me even on an occasion like this? Humiliate? I raised an eyebrow in feigned surprise, glancing at the shrinking Lin Jiao beside him. I'm here for charity, Miss Lin. This dress of yours, if it's genuine, there should be hand-embroidered anti-counterfeit gold thread at the collar, but your thread here seems about to come loose. A low chuckle rippled through the surroundings. Lin Jiao's face instantly flushed red to the tips of her ears. She instinctively reached to cover it, only appearing more flustered and uneasy. Miss Shun, must you be so aggressive? Lin Jiao's voice trembled with a sob. I just wanted to accompany Jinyang to see the world and help him secure some investment opportunities. Investment opportunity? I sneered coldly, then turned and walked straight toward the auction podium at the center of the banquet hall. I signaled to the host, took the microphone, and instantly became the focus of the entire room. Everyone, tonight is a charity night, and I, Shun Ruorzhan, have decided to add a few items to the auction on the spot. I took out a stack of neatly bound documents from my bag and projected them onto the large screen behind me. They were dense records of bank transfers and property transfer lists, each with Lin Jiao as the recipient. These are the assets that Mr. Lu Jinyang generously provided to this Miss Lin during our marriage. The total amount is 38,500,000. I turned my head and looked at the two pale-faced individuals in the audience. I have decided to donate the entire recovered sum to the Foundation for Out-of-School Girls, and today, the first treasure I will auction is the vow of true love diamond ring that Mr. Lu gave me back then. I took out the enormous diamond ring from the jewelry box, tracing a sarcastic arc under the lights. The starting bid is 1 yuan, because after seeing the true faces of certain people, this thing is worth nothing in my eyes. The venue erupted in an uproar. The media's cameras were aimed at Lu Jinyang like machine guns. The once elite businessman now looked like a stripped-down clown. Shunruozhen, are you insane? Lu Jinyang rushed to the front of the stage, suppressing a low roar, the veins on his forehead throbbing wildly. I'm not insane, I'm just helping you repay your debts. I looked down at him from above. Lu Jinyang, didn't you say love is pure? Then please ask Miss Lin to return this impure money. By the way, Miss Lin, it seems the back of your gown really has split open. As my words fell, Lin Jiao let out a sharp cry. The cheap knockoff gown, due to excessive tightness and poor stitching, completely split open at the zipper in full view of everyone. The surrounding socialites covered their faces and laughed, their words dripping with sarcasm. Is this Mr. Lu's new flame, wearing such street market trash to a charity gala? She's truly disgraced the entire circle. Look at that transfer slip, using his wife's money to support such a person. Lu Jinyan's skill at freeloading with a tough attitude has really improved. Lu Jinyang looked at Lin Jiao, who was covering her back in a sorry state and crying pitifully, then turned his gaze to me on the stage, cold, elegant, and composed. The perennial chill in his eyes finally extinguished completely, replaced by a despair that felt as if the whole world had abandoned him. He wanted to take off his jacket to cover Lin Jiao, only to find that the lining of his own suit had also torn open from the intense movement at that moment. The so-called true love couple appeared so wretched, impoverished, and ridiculous under the spotlight. Mr. Lu, it seems your dignity has completely collapsed. I put down the microphone and, amidst the applause and jeers from the entire audience, gracefully stepped off the stage. As I passed by Lu Jinyang, I didn't even spare him a glance. Old Chen, let's go. The next act is about to begin at the hospital. I walked out of the theater, the night breeze slightly cool, the clamor behind me irrelevant. The dream stage I had built for them had been dismantled. What they would face next was the bloody reality of life, aging, sickness, and death, along with the unfillable black hole of poverty. At 3 a.m, the emergency hall of the public hospital resembled a giant can crammed with exhaustion and suffering. The pungent smell of disinfectant mingled with the scent of human sweat and cheap instant noodles, swirling recklessly in the stifling air. I pushed open the creaking automatic glass door, followed by 4 private bodyguards in sharp suits and expressionless faces. My attire stood in stark contrast to the pajama-clad, disheveled family members of patients around me, as if I had descended from another parallel world. Mr. Shun, after Mr. Lu was asked to leave by the private hospital yesterday afternoon, he's been waiting in line here ever since. Old Chen whispered behind me, guiding the way. Lin Jiao has been keeping watch here all night, and Lu Jinyang just returned from the payment window. I looked up and spotted Lin Jiao curled up in a ball on the blue row of chairs next to the ticket machine. She was still draped in that cheap suit, torn at the banquet and barely held together with pins, her makeup long since smeared by tears and sweat, with dark circles under her eyes that were frighteningly deep. Meanwhile, Lu Jinyang stood before the never-ending payment window, clutching a handful of crumpled small bills, humbly explaining something to the nurse behind the glass. Please, I beg you, can my father at least get the medicine first? I'll make up the rest of the medical fees tomorrow. I'm from the Lu group. What group or no group? Here it's only the bed number that matters. The nurse didn't even look up, her voice sharp and harsh, echoing through the empty hall. If you can't pay, the system won't release the medicine. There are hundreds of people waiting behind you. Don't block the way. Lu Jinyan's body swayed slightly. His hands, which had once only signed billion-dollar contracts, now trembled faintly as they clung humbly to the marble countertop. I walked over slowly, the sound of my high heels actually overpowering the clamor of the crowd in the noisy hall. President Lu, how does it feel now? Lu Jinyang suddenly turned around, his face, once as cool and clear as the moon, now ashen like an old newspaper. The moment he saw me, a flicker of hope flashed in his eyes, only to be quickly overshadowed by deep-seated inferiority and resentment. Shunruozhen, are you here to laugh at me? He gritted his teeth, his voice squeezed out from between them. A joke? No, I'm here to teach you about priorities. I took a wet wipe from my bag and slowly wiped my soiled fingertips. Back at the private hospital, your father had a private suite, received the world's top targeted therapy, and had doctors and nurses on call 24/7. At that time, you took all of that for granted, even finding the leisure to pity Miss Lynn for a single tear, and now, I pointed not far away, where Mr. Lou was lying on a temporary bed in the corridor, surrounded by a chaotic crowd, with some even coughing loudly and spitting nearby. Now, your beloved Miss Lynn can't even get an appointment, and you can't even afford a bottle of imported antibiotics that costs 2,000 yuan. Shunruorzhen, that's my father, he's also your father-in-law. Lu Jinyang suppressed his anger and growled, drawing sidelong glances from the surrounding patients. Sorry, I've already signed the divorce papers. The only legal connection between us now is the 50 million debt you owe me. I turned to look at Lin Jiao, who was rushing toward me. Lin Jiao seemed to have gone mad, trying to grab my arm, but the bodyguard stopped her precisely a meter away. Miss Shen, President Shen, please, I beg you, save Uncle Lu, he really can't hold on much longer. Lin Jiao cried hysterically, her hair as messy as weeds. As long as you're willing to pay, I'll leave Jinyang immediately. I'll disappear. I'll never show up again. Jiao Jiao, don't beg her. Lu Jinyang pulled Lin Jiao back, but the despair on his face was deeper than anyone else's. Leave him, Miss Lin. Do you think I'll let you off just because you leave him now? I looked at her coldly. Every penny of the company funds you stole is on record. You should be praying that Uncle Lu can hold on a little longer. Otherwise, not only will you have to repay a huge sum, but you'll also face an additional charge of indirect intentional injury. Just then, the monitor by the extra bed suddenly emitted a rapid alarm. Doctor, come quickly, the patient is having trouble breathing. Lin Jiao screamed as she rushed over. However, in this overcrowded late-night emergency room, only one on-duty doctor was shuttling between dozens of patients, completely unable to attend to this side. Lu Jinyang watched his father's face turn purplish-red from lack of oxygen, then glanced at the indifferent surroundings around him. Finally, he broke down. He turned around, his knees giving way, as if he were about to kneel before me. I stepped aside, my tone icy and devoid of any emotion. Lu Jinyang, don't dirty my eyes. Has your dignity become so cheap? Shunruorzhen, I beg you, save him. As long as you let him return to the private hospital, I'll do anything you ask. He lowered his head, his voice choked with broken sobs. Fine. I took a contract from my bag and threw it directly in his face. Sign it, admit that all of Lin Jiao's embezzlement was done under your instruction, and transfer all the remaining options you hold in the Lu Group to me for 1 yuan. Lu Jinyang trembled all over, looking at me in disbelief. You want me to personally send Jiao Jiao to prison, and strip me of my last chance to turn things around? You can choose not to sign. After all, the draft in the hallway is strong, and Uncle Lu is getting on in years. He might not be able to handle it. I glanced at my watch, my expression calm. I gave you the best medical resources, but you threw them away for the sake of true love. Now, it's just a matter of returning what was originally mine. Just as Lu Jinyang reached out with a trembling hand to take the pen, Lin Jiao suddenly shrieked, Jinyang, you can't sign. If you sign, I'm ruined. My father still needs that money to buy medicine. Lu Jinyang's pen tip paused on the paper. He turned to look at Lin Jiao, then at his convulsing father. At that moment, I saw it clearly. The so-called true love in his heart was crumbling inch by inch under the pressure of survival and morality. See it clearly now, Lu Jinyang. I leaned close to him and whispered softly, this is your so-called pure white moonlight. Between your life and hers, she will always choose herself. With my people, I turned and left the hall without looking back. Just as the medical staff rushed in with a stretcher, this level of downgrade experience is just the first step in making them face reality. The upcoming legal trial is the true abyss that will utterly destroy them. On the 48th floor of the law firm, beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows lies the cold, cloud-topped sky. Inside, the 6-meter-long obsidian conference table resembles a massive sword of judgment, separating us into two entirely different worlds. I sat at the head of the table, with the city's top legal team to my left. In front of each of them, half-meter-high stacks of blue folders were neatly arranged. Across from us, Lu Jinyang and Lin Jiao sat close together. Lu Jinyan's suit was already showing cheap wrinkles, while Lin Jiao, her once pure and charming face now etched with terror and exhaustion, clutched her hands under the table, her knuckles white. Mr. Shen, the entire chain of evidence is now complete. My chief lawyer, Attorney Zhong, adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses, his voice calm and devoid of any warmth. Over the past 3 years, Ms. Lin Jiao, through various expense reports, fraudulent contracts signed by Mr. Lu Jinyang, and direct transfers, has illegally acquired assets totaling 52.4 million yuan. This includes an apartment in the city center and 3 luxury cars. Attorney Zhong slid a stack of colorful bank statements toward Lin Jiao one by one, like dealing playing cards. Miss Lin, please take a look at this transaction. In June of the year before last, the Lu Group allocated charitable funds to impoverished mountainous areas. Among them, 2 million yuan was transferred through an overseas shell company and eventually deposited into your personal account, with the purpose labeled as Paris Shopping Fund. No, that's not how it is. Lin Jiao's voice trembled violently as she suddenly looked at Lu Jinyang. Jinyang, that was what you gave me. You said it was your own dividends. I didn't know it was public funds. I really didn't know. Lu Jinyang stared fixedly at the numbers, the last glimmer of light in his eyes completely extinguished. He had originally thought he was merely using his own money to pamper a woman, but he had forgotten that when he mixed the Shen family's investment with the company's cash flow, he had already stepped into the forbidden zone of the law. Shen Ruozhen, I will repay this money. Give me time, and I will return every cent to you. Lu Jinyang looked up at me, his voice hoarse as if scraped over sandpaper. As long as you don't sue Jiao Jiao, I'll do anything you ask. Repay, I sneered, leaning forward, the overwhelming pressure making Lin Jiao across from me shrink back. Lu Jinyang, what do you have left to repay with? The properties, vehicles, and equity under your name have already been placed under pre-litigation preservation due to the failure of the bet agreement. The most valuable thing on you right now is probably that pilled suit you're wearing. Oh, and let's not forget your father's daily hospital bills, which run into tens of thousands. I took a repayment agreement and a pre-signed criminal reconciliation letter from lawyer Zhong and tossed them lightly onto the center of the table. There are 2 paths here. First, Lin Jiao admits to all the facts of illegal embezzlement and returns all properties and vehicles within 3 working days. For the remaining cash shortfall, she will bear criminal responsibility, likely starting with a sentence of 15 years. Second, I paused, my gaze sharp as a blade sweeping over their faces. Lu Jinyang, you sign this unlimited joint liability guarantee, admitting that you conspired with Lin Jiao in the embezzlement. This way, I can temporarily withdraw the criminal charges against her, but the cost is that you will bear the burden of this 50 million debt, barred from serving as a legal representative or executive of any company for life, until it is fully repaid. Jinyang, sign it, save me. I can't go to prison. If I'm locked up, my dad will truly have no one to take care of him. Lin Jiao frantically grabbed Lu Jinyang's arm, her nails digging deep into his flesh. Lu Jinyang stared in disbelief at the woman beside him. This white moonlight he once thought was fragile and helpless, needing his utmost protection, was now, in the face of imprisonment, unhesitatingly choosing to let him, her lover, shoulder the devastating debt and the end of his career. Jiao Jiao, do you know that signing this agreement will completely ruin my life? Lu Jinyang's voice carried a barely detectable sob. But if I don't sign, I'll go to prison. Lin Jiao shrieked hysterically, her once innocent face now twisted with fear and selfishness. You're a man, you'll always find a way to make money. You graduated from a prestigious university, you have connections, I have nothing. I can't go to a place like that. I sat to the side, elegantly sipping the bitter black coffee, savoring the fast-titled True Love above all. President Lu, do you see it clearly now? This is the love you were willing to betray your marriage to protect. I set down the cup, producing a crisp sound, in the face of life and death. Interests, she isn't even willing to share even the slightest risk with you. Her innocence only operates on schedule when you have money. Lu Jinyang closed his eyes in pain, 2 clear tears sliding down his cold, handsome face. He had once thought himself a savior, only to realize he was nothing more than a thoroughly exploited ATM. I'll sign. Lu Jinyang opened his eyes, his gaze now devoid of hatred, leaving only an ashen, lifeless desolation. Shunru Orjan, I'll sign, I'll give you the rest of my life. Just please withdraw the repossession order for that house right now. Let Lin Jiao take her father back, and don't let this escalate to my mother. Jinyang, I knew you loved me the most. Lin Jiao wiped away her tears and smiled, her change of expression so swift it was nauseating. Don't celebrate just yet. I pressed down on Lu Jinyang's hand as he was about to sign. Looking coldly at Lin Jiao, Lu Jinyang is signing for the debt. But you, Miss Lin, must vacate that apartment immediately and return all the luxury items my Shen family paid for. I want you to leave. With nothing, starting from the very bottom in this city, I glanced at lawyer Zhong, who immediately produced a notarized document. Miss Lin, please proceed. The notary and the moving company are already waiting at your door. As for your Hermes items, I will send every single one to the second-hand market for auction, and all proceeds will be donated. As for you, you can choose to seek refuge with your future mother-in-law, who is currently taking care of old Mrs. Lu. I imagine the two of you will have plenty to talk about in that leaky little cottage. Lin Jiao's smile froze on her face. Lu Jinyang trembled as he signed his name. In that moment, his once upright spine seemed to collapse instantly. Lu Jinyang, from today onward, you are the #1 prisoner on this debt ledger. I put away the agreement, stood up, and looked down at him from above. And as for Miss Lin, I wish you could remain as beautiful as ever, even without designer bags and high-end salons. I walked out of the meeting room. Behind me, Lin Jiao was still throwing a tantrum with the notary over the ownership of a few bags, while Lu Jinyang just sat there quietly, like a stone statue that had lost its soul. This is merely the judgment of the law. In the next chapter, I will make them understand what happens when poverty and selfishness ferment under the same roof, how the so-called white moonlight can turn into a nauseating mess in the late-night Aurora bar. The heavy bass of heavy metal rock music pounded painfully against the heart. Multicolored spotlights swept frantically over the writhing crowd in the dance floor. This was a breeding ground for desire and depravity, and also Lin Jiao's last lifeline. I sat in a secluded VIP booth on the second floor, the one-way glass in front of me offering a clear view of everything below. Old Chen stood behind me, handing me a tablet. On the screen, Lin Jiao's call records and real-time location were displayed. Mr. Shen, you were right. After having all her properties and bags confiscated, Lin Jiao didn't go to the urban village to find Lu Jinyang and his mother. Instead, she contacted that second-generation rich kid she met during social engagements, Zhao Heng, the youngest son of the Zhao family. Old Chen spoke in a calm tone. She wants to sell herself for a good price to cover her father's ongoing medical expenses and escape that slum. Zhao Heng. I took a sip of my whiskey on the rocks, a mocking smile curling at the corner of my mouth. That notorious playboy, who changes women faster than he changes socks. Lin Jiao must be truly desperate to think she can get any advantage from such an experienced player. Downstairs in the booth, Lin Jiao was wearing an extremely tight, cheap red dress with very little fabric. Her heavy smoky makeup was smudged as she held up a glass, laughing and flirting as she snuggled into Zhao Heng's arms. His greasy hand roamed freely over her waist, his eyes filled with undisguised lechery. Zhao Xiao, if you can help me with this, from now on, Jiao Jiao will be yours. Lin Jiao's voice sounded especially pitiful amidst the noisy music. The aloofness and innocence she once displayed in front of Lu Jinyang had long been slapped away by the harsh realities of life. I can help you, sure, but Lin Jiao, you're quite the celebrity in our circle now. The white moonlight of Lu Jinyang, the man who eats soft rice with a hard attitude. Zhao Heng burst into laughter, casually pouring a glass of foreign liquor onto the table and pointing at it. Lick it clean, and I'll think about it. Lin Jiao's face instantly turned deathly pale. She bit her lip hard, her eyes filled with humiliation. Meanwhile, at the side door of the bar, a man in a faded old jacket, with stubble covering his face, was frantically pushing past the security guards to force his way inside. It was Lu Jinyang. He had just finished his part-time shift at the car wash when he received the surprise gift. I sent him a photo of Lin Jiao flirting with Zhao Heng at the bar. Lin Jiao, get out here. Lu Jinyan's voice was barely audible over the deafening music, but his reckless, desperate frenzy actually managed to get him to the booth. When he saw Lin Jiao half kneeling on the ground, humbly reaching for the check in Zhao Heng's hand, Lu Jinyang felt as if his entire world had collapsed. "Jiao Jiao, what are you doing?" he asked in a trembling voice, his tone filled with shattered despair. Lin Jiao turned her head abruptly, and the panic in her eyes lasted only a second when she saw Lu Jinyang. Immediately afterward, the venom that erupted for survival quickly took over her face. "Lu Jinyang, what are you doing here?" Lin Jiao stood up, not even bothering to brush the dust off her knees. "Who told you to come? Look at yourself now, you smell like dish soap all over. What can you give me besides a mountain of debt? I signed a 50 million IOU to save you. I even gave up my future." Lu Jinyang rushed forward to grab her hand, but was shoved hard to the ground by one of Zhao Heng's bodyguards. "Save me, that was your own choice." Lin Jiao looked down at Lu Jinyang lying on the floor, screaming hysterically, "Lu Jinyang, stop pretending to be so devoted. I've had enough. I'm sick of living in that broken place with no hot water and cockroaches everywhere. Your mother curses at me like a madwoman every day, and your father is just waiting to die in the hospital. Why should I rot in hell? With you, you used to say you loved me for who I am, not for my money." Lu Jinyang lay on the ground, his forehead having struck the corner of a table, blood trickling down from the corner of his eye. "What use is a person without money?" Lin Jiao sneered, leaning into Zhao Heng's embrace. "Lu Jinyang, I'll be honest with you, the reason I came back to find you was because I knew Shen Ruozhen had money, and I knew you'd ask her for it for my sake. Did you really think I loved that cold, aloof act of yours? Watching you put on airs just made me sick." Lu Jinyang froze, his pupils contracting violently. It was the sound of his faith shattering. "I sat on the second floor, watching the scene behind the one-way glass, and pressed the record button in my hand. Look, young Master Zhao, how annoying this stray dog is," Lin Jiao said with a laugh, kissing Zhao Heng on the cheek. "Let's go to the private room, it's too noisy here." "All right, I'll listen to you," Zhao Heng smirked, lewdly, leading Lin Jiao toward the inner corridor. Lu Jinyang wanted to chase after them, but several security guards pinned him to the ground, kicking and punching him. I set down my wine glass, walked out of the private room, and descended the spiral staircase with light steps. The sound of my high heels was barely noticeable in the chaotic bar, but when I reached Lu Jinyang, he still lifted his blood-stained eyes. "See it clearly now, your white moonlight is actually just mud at its core." I leaned down and gently slipped the just-recorded voice recorder into his pocket. Shen Ruozhen." He opened his mouth, but no complete sound came out. "Lu Jinyang, the love you were most proud of was nothing more than a hunt aimed at the last bit of Shen family warmth in your pocket." I patted his cheek, my tone devoid of pity, only bone-chilling coldness. "Go on. Go see how your precious Jiao works hard for money in the private room. This recording is my funeral dirge for your epic love story." I stood up, elegantly stepping around the bloodstains on the floor behind me. Lu Jinyang struggled to his feet, like a dying beast, staggering toward the private room where Lin Jiao had disappeared. Before long, heart-wrenching screams and the sound of shattering bottles echoed from the private room area. I knew that after tonight, the ridiculous bond between them would turn into the most unforgettable hatred. "Old Chen, call the police," I said as I walked out of the bar, gazing at the cold moon in the night sky. "There are people engaging in prostitution and solicitation in a public place, and others causing trouble. Since they want to make a scene, let them catch up properly at the police station." The black Maybach cut through the long street, and I closed my eyes, savoring the tranquility as revenge entered its final countdown. The Lu family's ancestral home, this French-style manor that had carried the glory of 3 generations of the Lu family, was now shrouded in a desolate downpour. The white marble plaque at the main gate, originally engraved with Lu residents, had been removed, replaced by a striking green sign, Ruozhen Stray Animal Rescue Base. I stood quietly on the steps, holding a black lace umbrella. Workers were coming and going, smashing the heavy, intricate rosewood furniture inside the house and loading the scraps onto a truck as waste. Ms. Shen, Lu Jinyang has been kneeling outside the gate for 3 hours. Old Chen approached, adjusting the windproof shawl on my shoulders. The security Guard said the wound on his forehead has reopened. Mixed with rainwater, it looks quite pitiful. Pitiful, I scoffed lightly, watching the expensive Persian carpets being dragged through the muddy water and trampled. When my Shen family invested tens of billions to help him secure this mansion, did he ever consider the weight of that money while he was stargazing with Lin Jiao in the back garden? I descended the steps, my leather rain boots making dull, heavy sounds in the mud outside the main gate. Lu Jinyang huddled in the pouring rain. The cold, aloof facade he once wore was long gone, replaced by tattered clothes, scars from the beating he took at the bar yesterday. His knees pressed against the hard cement ground, rainwater streaming wildly down his pale cheeks, leaving him looking as broken and discarded as a crumpled piece of scrap paper. Shunru Orjan, he struggled to lift his head as I approached, his voice torn apart by the sound of the rain. I was wrong, I was truly wrong. You took back the company, you took back the cards, and now you're going to destroy this last old house too. Destroy? No, I'm doing a good deed. I bent down, my umbrella blocking the sky above his head, yet making him feel an even deeper chill. Lu Jinyang, your mother, Ju are you, has mortgaged the last of the shares your father left behind to me because of the massive high-interest loans she took out. Now, this house, along with every inch of land beneath it, belongs to the Shen family. What do I have to do for you to spare the Lu family? He lunged forward, trying to grab the hem of my skirt, but the bodyguard swiftly blocked him. Lin Jiao has already been arrested. I'm saddled with 50 million in debt, and my mother is now wandering under the overpass, picking through trash in a daze. You've won. You've completely won. Please, just leave the old house to me, even if it's just a side room, so I can settle my father's ashes. Ashes, I sneered, curling the corner of my mouth. Lu Jinyang, when you embezzled your father's life-saving money to satisfy Lin Jiao's vanity, you scattered his ashes with your own hands. Now you want to talk about filial piety with me. Don't you think it's a little too late? I took out a pre-drafted voluntary waiver statement and a stack of loose change from my bag. Sign it. Admit that you are not only incompetent in business but also morally bankrupt. From now on, every financial institution and every elite social circle in this city will permanently blacklist you. If you sign, I'll give you an extra 500 yuan as your dinner money for tonight. Lu Jinyang stared fixedly at the thin stack of banknotes in my hand. 500 yuan, once not even enough to cover the tip for a bottle of water he drank, was now his only hope for survival. His hand trembled as he took the pen, and in the midst of the raging storm, he signed his name on that deeply humiliating document. With each stroke, it felt as though he were personally scraping off the last layer of skin from his own body. Take it. I casually tossed the bills into the air, where they fluttered before landing in a puddle. Covered in mud, Lu Jinyang lunged forward like a madman, frantically groping for the money in the muddy water, his nails caked with filth. Lu Jinyang. I looked down at this man who had once stirred my heart but ultimately disgusted me. I used to think you were a proud, solitary snow-capped mountain. Later, I realized you were just a fake hill built with money. Now that the money is gone, you're not even worth a puddle of mud. Don't come looking for me again, because from now on, you're not even worthy of looking up to me. I turned around and walked into the old house that was being dismantled without looking back. Behind me came Lu Jinyang's desperate hoarse wails, the sound mingling with the thunder, faint as a speck of dust inside the old house. Workers were directing an excavator to tear down the wall that once hung with portraits of the Lu family ancestors. Mr. Shen, the renovation team is asking if the stray dog cages should be custom-made from all steel. Use the finest materials. I gazed at the humble figure receding into the distance outside the window, my tone indifferent. Those stray little ones understand gratitude better than some people, and they are far cleaner too. At this moment, the last trace of gloom in my heart completely dissipated. This was not the end of revenge, but the opening ceremony for the second half of my life. Shunru Orjan, Lu Jinyang, you can stay in the mire and slowly rot, while I am about to return to the very top of the pyramid that belongs to me. The spotlight in the Golden Dome Grand Hall was as dazzling as the blazing sun. I stood at the center of the stage, tightly gripping the weighty Economic Person of the Year trophy. Below, business magnates and political elites were all in attendance. their thunderous applause nearly lifting the luxurious ceiling. The large screen was replaying my achievements from the past year, consolidating the remnants of the Liu family, leading the charge in tech finance, and guiding the Shun Group back to its peak. In the footage, my eyes were resolute, each step perfectly in sync with the pulse of the times. "Mr. Shun, please share your acceptance speech," the host beamed. His eyes filled with reverence. I adjusted the microphone, my gaze sweeping over the dazzling crowd, yet in my mind, a few fragmented faces surfaced at this very moment. In another corner of the city, a narrow, dimly lit alleyway car wash, Lu Jinyang was hunched over, sweating profusely as he wiped the tires of a luxury car. His hands, long soaked in cheap detergent, were already festering. When he looked up and saw me, dressed in finery, on the grimy, grease-stained old TV in the car wash, the rag in his hand fell limply to the ground. The car owner shoved him in dissatisfaction, and he stumbled, collapsing into the filthy water. Those once cold, proud eyes now held only numbness toward life and a shudder at the past. Behind the iron bars of the prison, Lin Jiao, clad in bulky prison garb, mechanically operated a sewing machine on the assembly line. Her plan to stage a comeback by selling misery through live streams had, under my real name report and irrefutable evidence, ultimately become additional incriminating evidence presented in court. Her beauty had long since faded under coarse meals and grueling labor, leaving only endless fantasies in the dead of night about the Hermes bag she had already sold off. "Actually, I don't have any secret to success." I gathered my thoughts, smiled gracefully at the camera, my voice cool yet powerful, traveling through the radio waves into countless households and reaching the ears of those people. "I've simply learned to cut my losses in time. In business, we need to eliminate those debt-ridden shells. In life, we need to remove those toxic growths that parasitize under the guise of emotion." Many people ask me if I regret losing so-called love. My answer is, when your world is vast enough, you'll realize that the trivial romantic entanglements that once troubled you are nothing more than a speck of dust on the path to the summit. Applause erupted once again from the audience, and several heirs of top-tier families were casting admiring glances my way, a respect born of equals, not pitying affection. After the banquet, I stepped out of the venue, and my new suitor, the rising business star Gu Tingshan, was holding the car door open for me. He didn't offer any insincere sweet talk, but simply handed me a letter of intent for a new project collaboration. "President Shen, may I have the honor of standing by your side for the Starlight project next quarter?" He smiled with restraint and maturity. "Let's see how you perform." I got into the car, looking at the radiant version of myself in the rearview mirror. I rolled down the window, and the night breeze gently brushed by. As we passed under the overpass, I saw a deranged old woman muttering to herself in front of a trash can. It was Ju Yu, cursing at a newspaper with my photo on it, only to be disdainfully pushed away by a nearby homeless man. The car sped by in a flash. I once thought that marriage was the main battlefield of my life. Only later did I realize that marriage was merely a touchstone within my vast territory. Lu Jinyang and Lin Jiao thought they had stolen my feelings, but they never knew that they had only helped me achieve a complete, magnificent self-awakening. Money can indeed buy dignity, but more importantly, money can give women a one-way ticket to the pinnacle of freedom. Ms. Shen, where to? The driver asked respectfully. "Back to the company." I closed my eyes, a composed smile curling at the corner of my lips. There's still a business empire there that belongs to me, waiting for me to be crowned. The night was gentle, the stars sparkling brightly. On this path, I walked with composure and unwavering determination.